Welcome back to Steve's Sermon Shorts. I just wanted to touch base with you a little bit this week and just talk about something that was hitting on my brain. And last week I talked about a famous Twilight Zone episode and got a lot of good response from that. So I just figured I'd kind of keep going along that same vein, because one of the greatest, if not the greatest episode of Twilight Zone is one called Time Enough at Last. Now, in this episode, I don't want to spoil it for you, but what goes on is there's a man who loves to read books, and the people around him, even his own wife, dissuades him from trying to read books. And as circumstances would have it, he comes to be the last person alive on the planet. And when he's figuring out what's he going to do the rest of his life, as he's the only person left, he realizes that now's his time. He can read all the books that he wants to. And he talks about it with this joy and this glee, because now he's got all the time he wants and all the time he needs to read all the books that he wants to. Now, of course, in Twilight Zone twist, something happens that causes this episode to be one of the best episodes ever. But again, I don't want to spoil it. I want you to watch it because it's such a great episode. But one of the things about it, though, is this concept of time enough at last. He is excited because now, finally, he can do what he wants to do. And the thing is, I'm afraid so many times people do that with their Christian walk. We have this idea that says, oh, well, I've got plenty of time. I can start witnessing later. Or I can start living for God later. I can do these things once I get everything else out of my system. I can do it later. And we think that we just have all the time in the world and that we'll eventually get there. But what we should be doing is doing what God calls us to do right now. When he calls us to witness, when he calls to invite, when he calls for us to be that example for people in our world, we need to do doing that right now, not waiting for a time when we'll have all the time we need. Because in his word, he warns us. What does he say? In James 4:14, he says this, "Yet you do not know what your life will be like tomorrow. You are just a vapor that appears for a little while and then vanishes away." We know that the Lord knows our days that we're going to be on this earth. But the thing we must remember is that we don't. And what we put off for tomorrow may not ever come to fruition. So if you're sitting there saying, well, I'll be what God wants me to be tomorrow, I'll be what God wants me to be when I have all the time in the world, understand that your days and your life could be ended very quickly. Don't put off tomorrow what you need to do today, and serving God is what all people need to do today. All right? So let's not go waste our time. Let's go out there and serve the Lord with all that we are. All right? See you next week.